All right, so I thought we'd take a break from poring over people's best music of the decades lists by trying to find some best anime of the decades list. Uh, so far I haven't seen too many lists that look appropriate. This is Ranker, so it's like collaborative list making, people doing their own ranking and stuff. It's just vote based. That's not too interesting to me. I want someone's like kind of more individual opinions that they're going to kind of argue for, just so we can have some sort of consistency of like, oh, they put this above this, that's a lot more fun. Same with this. I don't think is what we're looking for. Neither this or this. I checked this one because it was just like a blog, so that seemed good. But it's actually 2009, not 2019. Um, what I am curious about is Paste Magazine, who we looked at their music list, has also put out an anime list, best anime of all time. They tapped 5 anime experts to select the 50 greatest anime series ever made. So even though this isn't an end of decade list, and we could have been doing this anytime since last October, let's check it out. It seems like fun. Seems like it could be controversial. I've watched a lot of anime. Hmm. Okay. List groups of the letter made our along with myself. Each made our own list. Those lists were collated, and the picks with the most votes rose to the top. Okay. Um. All right. Okay. Sure. It's exciting. I'm quite curious. What they're. Ooh, they did the best TV shows of the 2010s as well. That's kind of intriguing. But there's the top anime of all time, Cowboy Bebop. Not at all a surprise. I'm sure most kind of mainstream non-anime focused sites would put this somewhere. Probably is going to be in like the top 10. I'm thinking top 10 is going to have Cowboy Beep Beep, maybe some Samurai Champloo, maybe some Evangelion. I don't know if they're going to do movies as well. If they do movies as well, probably some Miyazaki up in there. Maybe Nausicaa, maybe Spirited Away, maybe Castle in the Sky. I don't know. What else? What else do I expect normies to put on their list? I'm not really sure. This is going to be quite revealing for me. Berserk from 1997, sure. So this just covers the golden age. Right, right. Okay, fine. Fate Zero, sure. That's not a big surprise. Bleach. Come on now. I mean, like, okay, all right, sure, 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 sure. Bleach is all about the sword. It's not enough Netflix. Skip the sword. Okay, so the shonen stuff is on the table, and I expect to see the other two members of the big three ranked even higher here. Probably One Piece and then Naruto, which I have, of course, very strong opinions about. One Punch Man, I'm sure, will be ranked quite highly as well. Probably Boku no Hero Academia, Hunter x Hunter. Now that I see Shonen is on the table, I think all of these are just a given. These two I thought were kind of taking me in one direction, but the presence of Bleach, it's like, oh, okay, I see. I'll be happy if I see Mob Psycho. I think Mob Psycho is kind of like one step further than I would imagine this list will go, so that'll be kind of cool. Ooh, Ping Pong the animation. All right. You know what? I'm not too surprised. This one has created a bit of a cult following that's crossed over into people that aren't generally interested in anime. Like it's become a real like bible for people who play competitive melee. Um, Almost every melee player will talk about how watching this made them better at melee, which I don't really understand how that could be true. For a long time, Leffen, who's one of the most powerful, notable melee players of all time, had one of actually my favorite screen caps from Ping Pong as his Twitter background, which I thought was cool, where Smile is sitting in the dressing room and there's like butterfly wings behind him that they look like they're kind of made out of stained glass. It's really really beautiful. It's one of the many things that have endeared me to Leffen over the years. Uh, yeah, That's quite nice. A similarly wonky art style. I guess I would call it wonky in the best possible way, in the way that evokes to me wonky music, which is a genre of music I quite like. All right, sure. Yeah, oh, sure, sure, sure. I assume Devilman Crybaby is going to show up on this list later too, given that they mentioned this. Steins Gate, I'm actually surprised is this low. This is one that I thought this type of list maker would be all over for, especially since it's like the five of their lists correlated. I thought this is kind of like a generally acceptable one. This one I assume is maybe some of the people making the list haven't even watched it. I don't know. So yeah, it's like the shows that are going to rate highest are the ones that all five of the list makers watched, right? Like those have such an inherent advantage over ones that are a little more niche that maybe not all of them have seen. Yeah, Steins Gate. Excuse me, Steins Gate. Nothing wrong with Steins Gate. Full Metal Alchemist, notably not Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. So this is the one that it got caught up to the manga and then it started deviating quite significantly in a way that I think most of the manga readers were like not that happy with, but was like okay on its own. Um, yeah, makes it work. Okay, so maybe Brotherhood is going to be ranked even higher. What else? So this is starting to sound like kind of my anime list top picks core. I'm thinking. So I'm guessing Gintama will be on here too. Maybe Pokemon. Okay. I mean, sure, I guess. Like, it's a phenomenon, that's for sure. And sometimes I think it's quite funny, and sometimes there's some pretty strong animation. But a good 95% of the episodes are just straight filler with no real plot progression and kind of just the same formula. I don't know. I guess I can't really knock it though, because you're still meeting Pokemon, you're still meeting new characters. I don't know. Sure. I mean, hmm. Show's pervasiveness is a testament to the power of nostalgia. See, I don't even think that's true because the power of nostalgia is like people my age going back and watching original run Pokemon for the nostalgia. None of those people are watching the Sun and Moon anime, right? Like, and yet they're still saying 1997 to present. So it's like they're counting those later seasons that they don't know anything about as part of the run of the show. I mean, I'm being a huge pedantic nerd here, but it's kind of like, come on, you know? I just can't help it. I gotta just say, come on. Megazone 23, I don't know what the heck this is. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit because I keep accidentally scrolling into the next one. Um, we'll do this, I guess. Yeah, I don't know what this is at all. It kind of looks like this is a localized title for something maybe I've heard of in the original. Or not. Oh, it's an cyberpunk OVA, originally titled Omega Zone. Sure. So I guess OVAs are on the table. So therefore, maybe movies are as well. So then we're gonna have like Akira, maybe Redline, Miyazaki movies. Sure. I wish people would do those lists separately. You wouldn't make a list of top TV shows that also just had movies in it. But the fact that these are all anime, somehow those medium distinctions aren't important anymore, it bugs me. It definitely bugs me. I don't know. Okay. Uh, sure. Gankutsu, the Count of Monte Cristo. I don't know what the heck this is either. Sure. Studio Gonzo, okay. Yeah, all right, sure. I mean, it's an adaptation of The Count of Monte Cristo, which is like a legendary book for a reason. So I'm sure it's quite gripping and fun. I think that series of the year. Yeah, okay. So is this a movie? No, it's a 24 episode series. But then it was also 500 essential anime movies. I don't understand. I don't understand why Western media critics can't understand that there's anime movies released in Japan and there's series released in Japan. And then, of course, there's also OVAs, ONAs, and I guess it is a little confusing, but it's not that confusing. Come on. You can make it consistent. You can at least behave consistently within your own sorts of lists, or at least come up with some sort of schema that allows, whatever. John Mayer, the famous singer, big fan of this one, I guess. Excuse me. Code Geass. Okay, that doesn't surprise me. Season 3 coming soon, right? I think. Sure, it's a bit like Game of Thrones. Sure. Gurren Lagann. Sure, that doesn't surprise me. Now that this is here, maybe Kill la Kill will be on this list as well. But I'd be kind of surprised if Kill la Kill was higher than Gurren Lagann, so maybe not. But yeah, good pick. Sure. But till the release of Tengen Top and Gurren Lagann, Gainax had been a studio perilously skirting the line between disaster and success. Alright, well, I guess. Alright. Alright, My Hero Academia, as predicted. It's kind of... We haven't seen Naruto or One Piece show up yet. Maybe they'll still show up later. But I could see them putting this above it, because as an anime, this is a lot stronger than any of the big three shonen anime, or really pretty much any long-running shonen anime getting adapted. Oh, Attack on Titan is going to be way up there too, isn't it? It's going to be like top 10, maybe top 5 even. Yeah, it's not too surprising. Vision of Escaflowne, sure. Not too surprising. Wolf's Rain, this was a movie, I'm pretty sure. Or actually, maybe not. Maybe it's a series. This is the stuff that was coming out when I was like first getting into anime. So in my mind, I associated with like anime magazines I would buy at the time. No, it was a TV show. Okay. So I can kind of like vaguely remember stuff about these sorts of series, but it's all kind of mixed up in my mind. Death Note, okay, not a surprise. I should have been able to call this one too. Devilman Crybaby, as we expected. Yes. Ooh, Monster. Okay, that's a good pick. A bit more of a deep cut. Definitely one that it's like, once you're trying to get into taste core anime, like critically acclaimed, canonically watched anime, it's one you find out about right away. But if you don't do that, if you don't try to take those steps and like ask those questions and look for things like that, you probably won't hear about this one. So it's nice. Talking about Urasawa, yes, sure. One of the greatest anime series ever put to the screen. In fact, it's the 34th greatest anime series ever put to the screen. Okay. Oh, Kids on the Slope. Interesting. So definitely big fan of Watanabe on this list, yeah. And we still haven't seen the big two Watanabe shows of Beep Beep and Shampoo. So those are still to come. And then maybe also Space Dandy, I could see. This is before Carol and Tuesday came out, but based on everything else I've seen on this list, they would have loved Carol and Tuesday. Sure. Oh, Ranma 1/2, okay. I really don't know what the anime of this is like at all, but this was a very, very formative manga for me to read. Reading this manga definitely changed my life in some pretty significant way. Sure. Problematic as it is. Excuse me. All right, hold on. Probably be protested off the air today. I don't really believe that. Just because there's fan service? Like, yeah, but there's still fan service today. Wait, are we about to see boobs? Am I gonna get my account taken down? Hold on. We're gonna investigate privately if I can scroll down. Yeah, it's better. It's probably better not to scroll down here. I don't know. Maybe I'll come back and read these later. I'm a little curious, but like I don't think of this show as the series is problematic. Like it's like it's a source of comedy that there's like gender swapping and homoeroticism and stuff, but it's not comedy because these characters are being condemned. It's just comedy based on like mishaps and miscommunications and awkward situations and stuff that like it's not offering like a negative commentary on the characters themselves. It's just how do I put this? Like the characters themselves, if anything, are continually affirmed as being good people that you want to see succeed and you want to see get through these struggles, right? All of the characters in the show are made to be quite endearing to the watcher, right? With some exceptions, but those exceptions aren't based on the sexuality or the gender identity of the characters or anything like that. I don't know. I don't know. I'm this show is quite influential to me. I don't know. I really I cannot think of an instance of it, but I haven't read it in quite a while. But I okay. Alright, High School Host Club, sure. Your Lion April, again, not a surprise. If they put Hibike on here higher than this, then Paste Magazine, I will send you $5 in the mail. But I kind of doubt it. We haven't seen any KyoAni shows, and I kind of doubt we will. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from the other as we get into the second half of this list. Serial Experiments Lane. Again, not a surprise. Kill la Kill. Kill la Kill higher than Gurren Lagann. That's pretty bold, I think, in a way, because Gurren Lagann is like much more the kind of canonical classic. But Kill la Kill is really kind of grown on me as a series since I finished it. When I first finished it, I don't know, it just didn't level, it doesn't measure up to the Gurren Lagann finale. It doesn't have the same sense of rapidly expanding scale. So at first I was a little disappointed. But since then I've thought about this series a lot, and I've watched some kind of video essays on it, and read about it, and thought about it, and it's quite deep. The messages are quite profound and inspiring, and I think I don't know about this sort of language, but yeah, it's really it's stuck with me more than I thought it would. Certain aspects of it. Ghost in the Shell, Sack, sure. So maybe there's not going to be movies. They had that one OVA, but we haven't seen any just like full-on cinematic movies. So maybe now and then here and there. Woo! Now this one is much more of a cult classic. I started watching this, but it was just kind of too bleak and heavy at the time. I'd like to go back and finish it at some point. But yeah, it's quite brutal. It's quite unpleasant and unfun to watch, which to me generally is appealing, but it's something that I have to be in the mood for sure. Yeah. All right. Oh, The Big O, another kind of cult classic. This is like mecha shows for big mecha fans. Big, both literally, like the sky is the size of the robot, and big in terms of genre devotion. I haven't watched it. Again, it was just like a show that was talked about when I was first getting into anime and had a reputation. I think it got aired on like Toonami and stuff, which is neat too. Sure. Big O, the big robot. Mushishi. Not too surprising. That's nice, yeah. Oh, there's our first KyoAni show, Violet Evergarden. A show that personally I don't really like that much. I think it's quite moving at times. Of course, the animation is gorgeous. But the animation isn't really all that interesting because everything that's animated, like, I think literally every scene is something that could be shot live action. There's no character deformations. There's no sudden trips into kind of like an imaginary space. There's no play of background and things like that. It's as if they just shot a live action show and then animated that, like frame by frame, you know? which is impressive, but it's like, that's not anime to me. That's not why I'm watching this medium. And the plot was like fine. I don't know. It was very hit and miss. Some of the episodes I found incredibly moving and they would make me cry. And other episodes, the whole time I was like, okay, okay. And all of the action scenes, it just seems so unnecessary. Like, why do you have to have big train chase catastrophe stuff right when you're at the cusp of her really discovering her humanity and dealing with these large questions of death and how she can come to forgive herself for things she's done. And then it's like, bruh, the bomb's gonna go off. The soldiers have rigged the train to explode in 12 minutes. And it's like, oh, come on. Like, I don't, you really shouldn't think you need this. Also, how did she have those robot hands? Nothing else was technologically advanced. And then she had these robot hands, which are like well beyond prosthetics of any sort of contemporary time when they had like carriages and stuff. It's, I don't know. It's like, it just kind of bugged me. I was so hyped up for it because they'd hinted at it for so long. And all they'd done was just provide these tiny little teasers that just had the most gorgeous animation possible. It's like, oh my god, like what is this gonna be? Like, and then it's just, oh yeah, okay, all right. Ah, there's Samurai Champloo, one of the big Watanabe shows. Cowboy Bebop still to come. Trigun, all right, another classic. I haven't watched too much of this. I remember burning every episode onto DVDs for my friend in public school, and then over at his house, it would just be playing constantly. But I don't know. It seems like fun. Inuyasha, sure. I guess since we saw Ranma, this isn't such a big surprise. Sure. Oh, there's One Piece. Okay, so perhaps Naruto even higher. But like, come on, what's so good about the One Piece anime? It's so slow. It's so filler based. It has like huge reaction shots every time. Some of the filler arcs I've heard are quite good. Like the G9 arc, I hear about all the time. The soundtrack's great. The voice acting's great. Sure, sure, sure. But just read the manga. Like, why not just read the manga? Like, I really just don't understand. All right, sure, sure, sure. Uh, yeah. Totally bonkers, but all kinds of fun. Keep you busy for a long, long time. All right, sure. Thanks, John. There. Giant Robo, the Earth, the day the Earth stood still. Another very classic giant mech series. Sure. Tetsujin 28. What is this? This is just like a super old. Oh, Tetsujin. That's like Iron Man. So this is like just a. Oh yes, yeah. This I do recall. This is like one of the most OG mecha series out there, and it was adapted as a Gigantor. That's right. That's right. Okay, sure. These people really like mecha. You can tell that one person's list was like very, very top heavy with mecha. I don't think this is a good way to put together a list, by the way. Just because it doesn't really reflect any one person's taste all that much, and the strongest series are the ones that like multiple people happen to have seen, even if none of them liked it that much, it'll still end up probably being number one over any given one that any person gave number one, you know? I don't know. So yeah, you can tell that somebody on this list really, really, yeah, this Toussaint Egan, which is a super badass name, by the way. Yeah, this guy seems awesome. Loves mecha. Toussaint, this guy, who presumably he's named after, is one of the most badass people in all of history. Really worth reading about. Just incredibly brave and heroic and yeah. Okay. Yu Hakusho, sure. I'm the only one that was extremely disappointed when Yu Yu Hakusho became a battle manga. I was reading it in the Western Shonen Jump, which I had been reading since the start. And I was so intrigued because I really didn't know very much about manga at the time. This was really like some of the first manga I was reading. I was so intrigued by this like very mature, very restrained series about spiritual detectives and these really human stories that were coming out investigates people struggling with like loss and grief. I was like, wow, I've like never read something like this before, you know? And of course, so much of the manga I read now follows in that path. Like, it was clear that that's what I was wanting were these human stories. And then he learns to shoot the spirit gun. And then he starts getting into all these crazy tournaments. And then he has to kill demons every day, and the demons get stronger and stronger. And I don't know, it was fine. All the characters were pretty cool, and the demons were spooky, and the fight scenes were nice, but I was quite disappointed. I was quite disappointed. Extraordinary sensitive show. But they don't sit side by side. These came first, and then it was just all this. Right? So I don't know. Kaiba? Ooh, that's kind of a deep cut. This is definitely like a cult favorite. So this is one that's probably like top 3 or something on one person's list, and then like everybody else hasn't watched it. So now it's 15th. I don't know. It's not as interesting to me as reading each 5 of these people's lists. But whatever. I'll just keep complaining. But yeah, I'd like to watch this. I've heard a lot of really good things about it. Sailor Moon. Now, they're just doing the entire 90s run of Sailor Moon. All the Ikuhara ones, I guess. Most people, I think, break it down into like R and S and stuff, but whatever. Sure. Yeah, alright, sure. Lupin the Third. But now they're just talking about OG Lupin the Third, which I think is like Green Coat Lupin, and not any of the many sequels and stuff. So I don't quite get it, but whatever. Sure. Hunter x Hunter or Hunter x Hunter. They're using the 2011 run. Sure. Instead of the 90s run. Sure. Not too surprised to see this. If Naruto comes after all of this, I'm going to be pretty sad, though. It's kind of looking like it won't. Looks like they kind of know what's up with Shonen. Paranoia Agent. Sure. Rurouni Kenshin. Sure. More Shonen. We're in the top 10 now. So what are we predicting? Evangelion, Cowboy Bebop, Attack on Titan, One Punch Man. What else? Space Dandy? Maybe? They seem to really like Watanabe. There's like multiple Watanabe fans. Maybe like Gundam as just like one huge sprawling franchise entry if they allow themselves that. I could see it just because there's this big mecha fan, Toussaint, who's contributed a list. What else? Mob Psycho? I would be so happy if Mob Psycho was on here. What else? Any slice of life shows? We have not seen any slice of life shows. It seems like they're just totally unaware or uninterested in the genre. I guess this is kind of, but it's more like shoujo romance stuff. This is kind of, but it's more drama. No Shaft anime, no KyoAni anime besides Violet Evergarden. Which is like, how does that, I don't know. How do you do that? What else? What else do we expect? I don't know. Let's just plunge ahead. Ooh, Utena. So definitely Ikuhara fans. I hope that the person who really liked Sailor Moon knows that Ikuhara directed a whole lot of Sailor Moon. But yeah, sure. This is an absolute classic. Evangelion of shoujo anime. Is it really often characterized as that? Really? Okay, whatever. Sure. Alright. Oh, Space Battleship Yamato. This has got to be Toussaint's pick as well. I'm assuming he wrote the write-up. This is another very classic mecha thing. I guess it's not really a mecha. They're just on a battleship. This guy. Uh, it's like Mecha E. I wonder if they'll put Legend of the what's it called again? Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Yeah, I always associate these two together for some reason. Yamato and Galactic Heroes. Hmm. Okay. Dragon Ball Z. Okay. Sure, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to diss Dragon Ball. I'll have like a million people mad at me. But I find other shonen just so much more interesting. Like Dragon Ball, it does certain things extremely well. Like just super iconic character designs, really memorable moments, fun fights, awesome power up and transformations. But lots of other shonen series have all of that and a plot that actually is like much more interesting and much more varied. I think original Dragon Ball is godly. Like up until Z, I think is just fantastic. That's the sort of shonen stuff I like. More about adventures, more about going to different places, meeting new characters, not just like, okay, then the next battle, then the next battle, then the next battle. You know, I don't know. Ha ha ha. Every practical sense, Status is one of anime's greatest creators. I don't know if I agree with that. Because, like, Dr. Slump and Dragon Ball are, like, the two only really successful series. Everything else was just him kind of. Not that he was, like, failing, but he just didn't want to make many more gigantic series. He didn't even want Dragon Ball to be as long as it was. Like Dragon Ball Z is called Dragon Ball Z because he wanted to end soon. He didn't think there was much further to go. He thought the revelation that like Goku was an alien from the planet Saiyan was supposed to be like this final twist. And then in the final battle against the Saiyans, Gohan would like win the day and then it would end with this feeling of and now Gohan will go on and fight these battles. Right? Like I don't know. To me, it's quite clear that through much of it, he just was like, "All right, well, I guess we'll do this now. All right, we'll do this now." I don't know. It's. I guess that part of it is just that I have a complex because this is like the very first anime I watched. It was like some of the very first manga I read, and sure, I feel like nostalgic for it. Sure, I have all sorts of good feelings attached to it, but I can't help but think that the people who really adore it so much do so because they just haven't moved on. They haven't moved on to see what else these genres and mediums are capable of. They're just still stuck in this mindset of like anime equals Dragon Ball Z. I don't know. Man, I don't know. Okay. Astro Boy, wow. He's drawing out the classics. Again, like, so this show is quite infamous because it really set the standard for how anime was going to be made. That Tezuka wanted to make an animated version of Astro Boy that would air on TV. Everyone said there's no way that we have the budget for that. Animation is so time consuming and expensive, there's no way that we're going to be able to fund a weekly animated show. And Tezuka said, oh no, it'll work out. We'll just work really, 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 really hard. And this is how the anime industry has worked ever since, for better or worse. I mean, it's the ramifications of this kind of mindset are extremely complex. But yeah, to me, I don't know if this is like actually that well done as a show. My understanding is that it is quite budget, and like even though they worked really, 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 really hard, they only just had so many resources. And again, it's like read the manga. The manga is like the real entity that is Astro Boy or Atom or whatever you want to call it. Um, that's where Tezuka actually had much more luxury to create the exact masterpiece that he wanted to. I don't know if we need to lionize and hold up adaptations of these classic series as classics in and of themselves, right? Man, I don't know. Gundam. So they're just doing OG Gundam. The other bajillion entries in the franchise, I guess, not counted, or I guess like this is about impact a lot. Like this write up is really just mostly about the impact that it had. Same with some of the other write ups on like Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z and stuff. So I guess it makes sense to focus on Oh, okay. Well, I guess they're just saying like this is the really really good one. Among my Gundam friends, I do think the original is quite well respected, but I don't know anyone who would say it's their favorite. Well, I don't know. Maybe there is. Who knows? Sure, sure. FL Seal. Okay. So we're running out of room for all the ones that I predicted. I said Cowboy Bebop, Evangelion, One Punch Man. I had another one that I felt quite confident on, Attack on Titan. All of those four, I felt very confident that we would still see on this list. And now there's not enough room for. There's one of those must go. Interesting. So yeah, FLCL. I should have seen this coming. Definitely the sort of anime that people who make these sort of lists would watch. Sure, 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 sure. Full Auto. Oh, okay, okay. I guess I should have predicted this as well because of the way that they talked about the other Full Metal Alchemist series. They were a little critical about the adaptation. So what's left? Just Evangelion and Cowboy Bebop? No One Punch Man or Attack on Titan? Somewhat surprising, but I guess that's fine. Sure. All right, Evangelion and then Cowboy Bebop. You really gonna put the the header photo? The header photo is from the #1 ranked show. Isn't that a little cheating? Isn't that a little spoilers? I don't know. And why did they link this from End of Evangelion? That's like not cool. And the upload this calls her Azuma. I guess K and M are next to each other on the keyboard. There's this crying emoji. Why would you choose this clip? Why not the OP, which is like iconic the world over? Why not at least like a scene from early in the show and not from the movie literally called End of Evangelion, which is just full of spoilers for everything? Oh my gosh. All right. Sure, 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 sure. And Cowboy Bebop. Sure, 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 sure. All right. Well, not too surprising of a list. Looks like definitely made by people who don't really watch anime anymore. The only recent shows were like Devilman Crybaby and Violet Evergarden, which are both on Netflix. Probably not a coincidence, and received like a lot of general attention. Everything else is like I think next to that, Kill la Kill and like these are like a few years old, but I would be shocked if any of these people watched seasonal anime. Well, yeah, this is pretty new, but I guess again, it's like, yeah, I don't think these people watch seasonal anime. Um, Definitely picking a lot of like classics because they felt either like they had to or just because they're very focused on like impact and innovation and stuff. I think that's fine. I think that's a totally fine perspective in list making, especially when you're doing not just like a decade period or a year period or anything like that, but just overall the entire medium, what kind of stands up. Then yeah, it kind of makes sense that you're going to put in some classics, just kind of for the sake of their legacy. Not really many surprises, just kind of some, like this kind of a surprise. A few like cult shows that I guess I wouldn't assume they would have heard of, but it kind of makes sense that they would know about like a few kind of cult classics and sprinkle them in. So that aspect isn't too surprising. And then like a few old shows that I'm really not that familiar with. Aside from that, yeah, no slice of life, no Shaft anime, only one KyoAni show. Very, very different than my list. Very, 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 very different than my list. So, I wonder if there's comments. I kind of want to look at this list too. We'll maybe do that next. Yeah, 25 best anime series on Netflix. Best anime movies of the 2010s. That just came out today. Okay, let's look at that. That just came out today. That's crazy. What are the odds? there they're specifying movies specifically, so that'll be interesting. And also, it's just from the decade, which is much more on theme with what these videos are supposed to be. So yeah, I'll check that out next. We will see. Yeah, and I'll look for more anime lists too. If you know of any, please don't spoil them, but just like link them to me, and I'll tear them up. When did this come out? I wish it would show me when it came out. Oh, it's just year by year, and it's the wrong decade. That's anime of the 2000s. So far, so far. I mean, I was complaining that all the music lists came out too early. So I guess I shouldn't complain that there's no anime lists yet, that they're actually waiting an appropriate amount of time. Okay, all right. Well, we survived this one. See you next time.